kind of trade back, so we're back into the Aphelios Jinx handshake as such. But yeah, this is feel like you just go with the Wukong again. Kanavi will probably take the lease in, but again, I think Tarzan looked exceptional on this pick, and I think even looking back at Kanavi, Wukong was like, Kanavi got like 5-6 kills at 15 minutes the last time he played it. I don't think there's any other choice.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't get like what JDG are going for. Wait a second, what's happening here?
What? Maybe it's the 5-head moves, you know? I'll pick this, but they know that I'm gonna pick this, so therefore I won't pick this. But then they're like, oh no, but what if they do pick this? It's like that was like layers upon layers upon layers as the Poppy gets locked in. I would not put it past Kanavi to lock in Bel'Veth. I think it's really weird to lock it in this early, but what is going on, Dagda? Bel'Veth locked and loaded.
I mean, Bel'Veth is still incredibly strong. You get good late game scaling coming through in the kit as well. Like, I'm excited to see it here. And especially now that you got Yagao on the Ahri, should be able to have decent roam pressure to help Kanavi get towards that later game point. The only thing I will say is that you do end up using a lot of your dashes as Bel'Veth. So for Tarzan to have the Poppy here can work out relatively well. She does struggle against CC heavy teams, which I definitely think LNG have a reasonable amount of CC right now, so we'll have to see how this one is going to play out.
I didn't even see the Nautilus coming out for LNG if we really thought about it, but the Sejuani locked and loaded, that could just be into Allah's hands. Again, played very, very well into the Ornn, or on the Ornn in the previous game. I would like to see, again, more bans towards that top side. The Gwen going to be taken away. JDG probably going to ban away mid laners from Doinb. That being said, Doinb has an absolute champion, Oisin. But talk me through now. We talked about, you know, the dashes and obviously how this is going to interact with the team. What are you expecting to see coming out from JDG now that they've locked in the Bel'Veth? Where do you want to see them take this composition?
So Bel'Veth definitely wants time to try and scale up and farm incredibly heavily. She ends up getting the more attack speed as the game goes on, so she becomes incredibly reliant on getting to that later portion of the game. She also likes to play heavier on things like the Rift Herald because it can give her extra stacks of her Lavender, which gives her more of those little minions that she can try and work off of, and those Rift Herald pushes become even more potent. So I think we're going to see JDG trying to play heavily towards that Rift Herald style. So imagine 369 trying to take something that's a little bit more combative in the top lane that can spike around the level 6-7 mark, so he can actually play heavily for those, is probably the best bet.
Well, looks like LNG going to try and get some of that scaling back into themselves if they go with the Azir. But so plenty of options available here for LNG. And I like the Lissandra as well. Gives them, again, good hard CC. You talked about how the Bel'Veth really does struggle against teams that can just single her out, get those CC chains going for themselves. And Lissandra, Sejuani, Poppy, plenty to be working at right now. And honestly, they could still go with a Nautilus and just completely shut down this Bel'Veth.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely going to be a issue here for JDG with the amount of CC that's there, even for the Aphelios as well. And I'm curious, I was about to say what JDG are going to do, because Bel'Veth does have the knockup, but she really does rely on people to provide a lot of hard CC so she can sit there and deal a lot of her damage coming through off the, I'm going to have to remember what it's on because I can't remember, the Royal Maelstrom. Where you're just able to get like a whole bunch of damage off you in an AoE circle. So I definitely think you're going to have issues here trying to get Bel'Veth into a lot of these fights, because holy moly, like every Freljordian has come out here to freeze this Bel'Veth.
Yeah, if you're wondering what the theme of Freljord was when they were designing champions, it's CC, because you have a lot of CC here. And honestly, yes, you have got some great engage options available to you and good pick options available to the JDG. LNG have built themselves a very nice composition to kind of just stop the forward momentum of JDG kind of dead in its tracks.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what LNG are trying to do here, is just fully lock up short-range carries like the Bel'Veth, like the Aphelios, make sure they're not able to have a good time. And the thing is, 369 on the Scion can provide good frontline and good follow-up engage from missing, but you're kind of running into a lot of very beefy boys between Sejuani, Poppy, Braum, and so as long as this Jinx is able to get the ball rolling in the early stages, she can come a menace in the late game, provided that damage that you want to get through some of these mega tanks, and then also be able to, from afar, deal damage to things like the Aphelios and the Bel'Veth if they get caught out.
Absolutely. Now, obviously, both teams locked and loaded. I'm not quite sure if this is the first Bel'Veth. I don't think it is actually the first Bel'Veth of the split, but Yeah, it's definitely been one of those picks where we really want to. Actually, no, I think it is. I think this is the first Belvet. Yeah, first Belvet.
We didn't see it at all.
LPL.
Yeah. We didn't see it at all on Wednesday, which was our first time in 12-12 when she was.
Yes, you're absolutely right. I thought we were on the whole week, but you're absolutely correct. So Kanavi going to be piling this particular champion in, and honestly, I'm excited to see how it goes. It does seem like a champion that can be exceptionally powerful given the right circumstances. But that Rift Herald, that first Rift Herald, I am expecting to see massive fireworks.
Yeah, that's exactly where you want to put a lot of your attention here. And I mean, we were looking over at the LEC, we saw Haru played for Vitality, and it can be very strong in the right hands, but it is definitely something that requires you to play heavily around us. And I think for a team like JDG, that actually works quite well.
Oh, I love this. If Kanavi feels like he's only against the Tarzan, oh, I love this. Does he go forward? No, he knows something's up. He has to know something's up. No, they don't, because no one else has gone forward with vision. He's just going to back away. Kanavi has a sixth sense. He's Spider-Man. He knows something was up.
Yeah, he's just going to back away, not going to get caught out by that. Again, like, this is going to be heavy farming from Kanavi, so just wanted to try and get a ward down to spot out where Tarzan was, so maybe he could try and alleviate a little bit of the pressure. But we tend to see a very slow gameplay from a Belvet. She can gank, don't get me wrong. Trying to dashes, has the knock-up as well. But you definitely want to take your time here to get to that late-game attack speed monster.
Wait to see how now it all goes in. Kanavi going to start on the red buff. Pretty standard start here. And of course, getting off and just trying to get it as quick as he possibly can to that level 6. That's when you really do start to see the power of the Belvet, getting those resets, getting access to that, getting up to his ultimate form. And now Ala going to take a big old chunk from 369, who's just trying to be an absolute menace in this top lane. And again, nothing really going to happen, I imagine, in this top side, especially considering Ala's gone for a flash instead of an offensive summoner, recognizing that they just need to be there for the team fights.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious to see how LNG are going to try and respond to a huge amount of what's happening here, though, because it feels like you've got the ability for LNG to start moving Doinb around the map. The Sandra's come out as a good answer into the Ahri because you can get good amount of push. Your Q is relatively cheap on mana, comparatively to the Q on Ahri. So maybe we actually start to see Tarzan, with the way he's positioned here, we're going Raptors into bot side clear, some sort of play on the bottom half of the map, but I'm not sure, just because Lwandy is running the Braum, which means that you can struggle to get set up unless Doinb's already in position.
Again, this could be a big... Oh, let me stop myself there. There's going to be a trade back down onto Missing. Doesn't actually quite get the concussive blows off, so just both supports taking a bit of health off of themselves. Kanavi now looking to maybe make some moves here onto Doinb, who's looking to try and crash this wave. Does have the Glacial Path. The above from below does end up knocking up, but it's not going to mean much else.
Yeah, and again, this is just Kanavi trying to alleviate some pressure from Yagao. He's already moving towards this top side. He's not losing out too much time on trying to get up here, but is going to just continue to farm it on up. Poppy has gone for a bit of a circular route here, where she went down, cleared out blue, also got the Gromp, and then moved back top side. So it does seem like Tarzan is trying to match where Kanavi is in the early stages of the game, and see if he can maybe get some counter ganks off.
Wait to see now. I'm so excited to see now the big fiesta that is going to come out around this Rift Herald in about 4.5 minutes time. Kanavi, though, already starting to get a little bit of decent trading off in this, or excuse me, decent camp trading off as he comes back in towards that mid lane. Kanavi going to try and maybe work something here as the Glacial Path is not going to be hit because the Charm did land. But yeah, Kanavi just not feeling comfortable to really commit to that.
Nope, just going to back away. And again, I think it's just trying to open up positioning here for Kanavi to get some vision control, maybe look for a bit of an invade. Like, the fact that he got his scuttle on the top side is already great from. We'll spot out that the Raptors have respawned, so he very quickly kind of leaves from this position because he doesn't want to get caught out with the Poppy coming back off of reset.
Yeah, the Poppy is a pretty big counter too, and we will see the Predator here for Poppy, so already got himself up to that Brutes one, so maybe looking to try and make something work there for himself as we wait to see where both these sides end up going for. Lwandy, I don't know why he popped up the Unbreakable, but he did. Just, you know, get the use of it, the APMs up for yourself. But yeah, Cole for the side of Light on LNG. He's happy to kind of continue farming up on this bot side. It was a massive wave that was pushed in by Hope, but that was to be expected considering that they did go for the slightly earlier reset. But now With Dragon spawning very, very soon, we will start to see Tarzan, who hasn't been as active on this Poppy, but can start to make moves now that he has access to that Predator.
Yeah, I think this is where you start to see Tarzan get a little bit more active on the Poppy, but again, I think it's the best bet for Tarzan to try and just synchronize with Kanavi to prevent Kanavi getting ahead, because if you end up scoring like early takedowns and that, the value from your attack speed buff goes up significantly, and you can just snowball completely out of control as Bel'Veth. So again, a lot of what LNG has set up here is very much a control type of composition, and keeping that control on JDG is going to be the ultimate goal for LNG.
Control, restraints, trying to keep Kanavi in a cage. I'm curious as well. Did go with the Ghost rather than the Flash. This is one of we tend to see in the Bel'Veth solo queue, just because it keeps you honestly just running people down. It's such a powerful summoner spell that you're able to kind of use for yourself. So generally see that one over the Flash, because you're generally trying to go in rather than out. So right now, Kanavi trying to see if he can make something work in this bot side, but they know that Tarzan is here. There was a ward, so they're fully aware this is the 3v3. Actually, 4v3 is the Yagao's trying to come in on top of this.
Kanavi with dash forward doesn't land the above and below, so we'll just back away instead. And I'm surprised to see Kanavi putting this much pressure on the map in the early stages. When we've looked at Bel'Veth in other regions, she hasn't been as active. And it does mean that Kanavi still being able to clear this jungle relatively quickly, but Tarzan is behind bot lane.
He's going to get the cleanse, but not just before he gets concussive blows down. He flashes in, gets knocked back. There's going to be a steadfast presence to stop Missing from getting away, but he does flash away. Now Doinb thinking about it, but I think he messed up the glacial path. So not quite able to get in on top of the bot lane of JDG, but burning a hell of a lot of summoners. This is good from the side of LNG.
Yeah, a bit unfortunate for Missing. Tried to hook onto Tarzan. Tarzan sidesteps, which means Missing hits the wall and ends up proccing the steadfast presence, so CCing himself in the mix. So now JDG on the back foot in the bot lane, which honestly kind of bodes relatively well for LNG. Again, keeping control, making sure that they're able to play off their spike in the mid game. They will need to get light accelerated though, because the problem is that like they hit their mid game well, but they want to make sure that this Jinx is going to be able to carry from that position, because with the amount of damage Kanavi will turn out late and that attack speed, where you've got a ton of people that are relatively close range, could cause issues for LNG if they can't lock up Kanavi correctly.
And Ala just coming back in. We did see in the picture-in-picture, 369 did commit the unstoppable onslaught, but Ala was very confident that he wasn't going to be taken down. Actually rushing the Ionian Boots of Lucidity. I quite like this from Ala, just kind of recognizing that he just needs to be able to clear waves, get those constant knockups to stop 369 from having any real pressure in this lane. There's no real kill pressure, as we've just discovered. So with Dragon up and available, has been up and available for quite a few minutes at this point now. It is LNG who are just trying to reclaim their lanes. A couple of resets came in, and you can see Doinb now trying to get back out onto the map after he did have to clear out that mid wave.
Just going to back it up. This is where things start to get a bit funky, though. We have Bel'Veth starting up the Dragon, which I'm kind of surprised at, because, I mean, a lot of teams have highly prioritized the Rift Herald, but I still think you should be able to move up into a position to try and contest this Rift Herald with the way JDG are playing at the moment. Hope has like the way pushed in bot. Kanavi can look for a quick reset, and it's not like LNG are really in a position right now to look for that neutral objective on the top side.
All right, well, Kanavi, after securing the Dragon, starts moving up towards those top camps. There's a couple to take before anything really happens. Actually rushing towards the pickaxe, so we'll be going towards a... I imagine it would be the Kraken Slayer, but we might be remiss.
Yeah, there's a couple different builds that have come out. There is an Iceborne Gauntlet build, but the more traditional one is Kraken Slayer into Blade of the Rune King, which is the full carry build. Tarzan, though, trying to again see if he can get light ahead here. We already talked about it. This is what you need to do as LNG.
Yeah, absolutely. You've got access to the Glacial Fissure as well. Hope and Missing recognizing they don't want to be here. They're going to try and make something worse. The Steadfast Presence does stop Missing in his tracks. The Glacial Fissure down. As you can see, they're putting the concussive blows in. Whoa! Light completely misses, but they know who their target is. Flash forward from Light. One more auto attack, and he finally gets it. First blood going over to LNG. The concussive blows keep Missing low, but Missing hasn't gone down yet, and this is while the Rift Herald's being taken by Kanavi.
Yeah, I mean, Doinb should be able to finish him off, but yeah, Light just completely whiffing on the Super Mega Death Rocket means that Missing...
Keep going, Missing. Keep going. He will fall eventually. He will eventually just end up dying, but that's going to be Doinb picking that one up. But that's a big now move for Kanavi, who's got the Rift Herald. They're
going top side.
Towards top. Yeah, I was going to say, you're in the true form now. You will get the Void Remora now. You'll get so much pressure.
Yeah, also, see all the little creeps that are spawning as well? This is what you get coming from the Rift Herald as well. So they can now pop this down, and this push becomes so terrifying.
TP coming in, though. Ala flashes away. He's doing really well to keep himself alive so far, but that's a 3-man Ring of Frost. Kanavi is dead. Didn't even get to drop down the Rift Herald, and that 369's got to run for his life. Tarzan is here to try and stop Yagao from getting away, and he will do just that. JDG tried to make the play, but they weren't quite able to execute.
And now Ala just needs to land one more auto and he'll be able to CC him.
Oh, there it is. Flash in, Ring of Frost. One more auto attack.
No!
Oh my god, it's a little bit disastrous, but the end of it all, it's still a 3-for-1 in favor of LNG. They're winning across the map.
Yeah, they had to go a bit far to get that one. But as you say, still winning on this top side. Push on bot lane though for Hope. Trying to see if he can answer it a little bit, but 5-1 now in kills, a 2,000 gold lead. That's what LNG were looking for, and we'll catch it here on the replay, just as we start to look towards this bottom side. I have no idea what happened to Light here. Like, it looks like he was trying to predict a flash from Missing, but, I mean, Missing's flash was already down, so really don't understand it. Like, it's not even like you're clicking the minimap or anything there, but...
Just completely whiffs.
Yeah, so it means that he doesn't... I asked to flash forward here to get Hope because he doesn't actually get the kill onto Missing. And then we start the yakety sacks because trying to chase down Missing here actually wastes a ton of time for LNG. But here on the top side again, just nice from LNG. Doinb getting this massive Ring of Frost. Great TP coming in. Tarzan in a position as well. Remember we were talking about matching Kanavi in a lot of situations. And they're just able to pick up some more gold off the back of this play.
Gotta say, quick reactions from Doinb as well. Doinb was on bot lane, basically picking up that kill onto Missing, and then made his way back to mid to try and push that back out before TPing back up the top lane. But looks like JDG gonna try it one more time after losing those 3 kills. Will eventually drop down the Rift Herald and get themselves this turret, but a lot of gold traded back onto this. It didn't need to be as scrappy for JDG, and this is where the game starts to get a little bit dicey for them. They're going to have to start really thinking about where and when these engages come out, because now 369, he's getting collapsed upon. Kanavi's already gone. My dude, you're dead.
Yeah, 369 completely caught out, and this is perfect for from LNG's perspective. Again, just more gold in their back pockets. They're getting control on the side lanes that they need, but the problem is that Yagao pushing mid, top tower already gone, dragging up in 50 seconds. They need to start getting these lanes pushed out so they can continue to contest these neutral objectives. Otherwise, you are going to run into a spot where JDG again can try and play through Kanavi when he's huge, Hope when he gets big as well.
40 seconds till the dragon spawns. JDG already secured the first one of the game, so they would be getting themselves up to 2 if they're able to secure it. Kanavi has got his Blade of the Ruined King finished up, so he's actually quite powerful, and actually quite a few big power spikes coming in here for JDG. The Everfrost for the Ari, the Iceborne Gauntlet was already finished up for 369, so they are on a good spot, but Doinb is 3-0-2. You can see he just wants to push back this wave, maybe try and just get some pressure into this mid lane so they can maybe look for a contest, but I don't really see how you're going to be able to do that without your items.
Yeah, I mean, you really need Doinb to be able to get that the mythic before they can really go for this. Kanavi as well, a little bit are in a relatively okay spot as well, just being able to move across. Has that Blade of the Ruined King completed? I thought he might go for the Kraken Slayer first, but a bit worried about the lockup and rather having the slow and also the healing that can come through on the Blade of the Ruined King is going to be relatively nice for him. But either way, I mean, you're perfect here. Another neutral goes the way of JDG, and now they can actually start to play towards, hey, let's not go for dragons, let's play out the map instead. Let's look towards things like Rift Herald as well, which should be up in just about 3 minutes time or 2 minutes time, where they can look to snowball even further.
Yeah, you see Kanavi looking to see if Doinb walks a little bit too far forward, but not to be caught out by the charm. And actually has the Luden's Tempest, not going towards that Everfrost just yet, so recognizing he needs to be able to put out some pretty significant burst damage to try and keep Kanavi on this Bel'Veth down. This is where the game gets, again, a little bit more tentative. It's only about 1,000 gold for LNG. They've got the Kraken Slayer finished up for Light, so he's on a very significant power spike, but still waiting for a couple more levels before he's truly comfortable on this Jinx.
I mean, you definitely want to get the rapid fire cannon coming through before you can actually become that monster in team fights. And that's the biggest problem that we were kind of talking about, is that LNG's composition is very reliant on Light's damage. And although you got 3 kills for Doinb, you've got like a ton of pressure that you managed to get on the top side, Light is kind of staying relatively in check, which is a big plus for JDG, because that is the main source of damage they have to worry about.
Well, no objective for another 40 seconds. The Rift Herald shall spawn, but it's going to be the full pressure of LNG on this bot side. You do have an unleashed teleport from Doinb, so should he feel the need to try and TP somewhere, he does have that access to him. But again, kind of similar to game 1, we do see a little bit of kind of overcommitment from Doinb onto side lanes, not really allocating properly, and honestly, they might lose this tier 1 in mid.
Yeah, they should actually lose it here, and you've got the Rift Herald that's going to spawn in just a little bit of time, so now JDG get to lean in towards that top side of the map, get some vision control down and look for... You've even got the resets coming through from 369. It feels like everything's setting up for JDG to take a fight at this top neutral objective.
Yeah, again, Doinb kind of going bot lane to secure something that was already guaranteed. Seems a little bit strange, but look, I'm not an LPL pro mid laner. I cannot just pretend to think I know exactly everything that goes on in their minds. But now with the pressure, they've been able to kind of reclaim in top and in mid. They are going to be able to start off this Rift Herald. And honestly, JDG look like they want nothing to do with it. They're going to back off completely. TP's actually going to come in here for Allah as he tries to just defend against this push from JDG.
I actually thought we were going to get a contest up towards top side, because you could see that 369 at resetting time. Kanavi was in a position to try and go, but Hope deciding to stay on the bot side means that they won't be able to. It looks like we're not actually getting the Kraken Slayer build from Kanavi. He is going for the Iceborne Gauntlet build, so going to be looking more to try and keep on top of people and continuously use the on-hit damage coming through from the Blade of the Rune King to be the mainstay carry in the fight.
We get the Rift Herald pushing in onto mid lane. Don't think it was actually necessarily needed, but the pressure from LNG still very much on this mid side. If they can get the second push here, could be pretty big. The smite is good though from Kanavi. Actually didn't even smite, just hit the eye on the back of it, so not able to get that one there. Unfortunate for LNG not to get a second charge, but this is again a big moment for LNG. I think they're in a good spot to be able to kind of maybe push this to a 2-0. And we talk about these two teams and we talk about the players on them, but this is a massive matchup. In the LPL, you only play each other one time. You get one best of 3 against everybody, and that could mean the world to your season. Think about it. If LNG win this 2-0, not only did they go 6-2, they dragged JDG down to 6-2, and they own the head-to-head. So for two teams very much pushing for playoffs and beyond, this is a pretty key matchup for both of them.
Also, just how much cleaner LNG are looking. Like, it's a much slower paced game, which we've already said, look, this is the way LNG play, but they are, roaming up towards the top side. They're able to counteract a ton of the plays JDG is making. They're making sure that JDG aren't able to snowball this game out of control. They're actually working together around neutral objectives as well. We can see for like second Rift Herald and that kind of stuff. The big test now is going to be this next dragon though. With 50 seconds on it, you have a very strong LNG. Light, not really at his damage spike, but you've got the stopwatch and also the Luden's Tempest available for Doinb. Allah is huge. Tarzan has a good amount of damage at this point in the game as well, just because his damage profile hasn't fully fallen off yet until he's like full tank. And if you can get a couple of those Kraken Slayers procs coming through from Light on the backside, that could be the difference maker here.
I mean, it's a Mountain Soul as well. You cannot overestimate how powerful that can be for something like... Oh, I'm going to stop myself right there as Allah gets hooked in. Missing going to immediately put in from the depths. They try and get the Moonlight Vigil. It's very well played right now as Allah's already taken out of this fight. And the resets from Kart coming in for this Belvet. The Keeper's Verdict is good to reset the fight just a little bit. The Charm goes wide, but Doinb trying to do his best he can. Light not really in this fight just yet as Tarzan goes in, takes out Yagao. They're trying to maybe turn this one around. Tarzan trying his very best on the tank that he is. Now 369 trying to jump on the Doinb, and we'll be able to take him out. Shutdown goes over to him, and all of a sudden JDG just find a perfect engage.
369's flank was impeccable there. Great TP ward set up for him, and he just manages to get directly onto the backline, buy a ton of space for JDG. And as you say, once Kanavi starts getting the resets, then it starts to be an issue, and LNG crumble at the feet of JDG. That's 3 dragons now for JDG.
3 dragons and a load of gold as well. We talked about how big Allah was, but Allah was not big enough to be able to deal with this massive Scion and just kind of honestly the straight up damage coming in. And again, this is just a weird place to be fighting for vision when you don't really need to.
Yeah, and again, like, it's not too bad where Tarzan can try and look for an engage. You've got like decent knockups and stuff, and Alec can get a lot of value out of the ultimate. But the problem was this TP flank. 369 does a fantastic job of causing LNG to scatter, so they're not able to set up as successfully as they like. Doinb late to the party as well because Ala was over aggressing. And here, I mean, you're already getting the resets for Kanavi. Hoping is in a good spot to continuously turn out that damage. And again, 369 positioning on this Sion has been perfect. Another spot there where he managed to get the shutdown onto Doom.
And again, for LNG, you're kind of in a situation. Oh, gonna stop myself there. They're gonna catch out Missing, who does not have flash and has nowhere to go. That's Ala picking up a kill here. Tarzan now thinking he might be able to find something, but the Gale Force used here by Hope keeps him at a safe distance. But do they look to try and maybe fight around this Baron right now? I feel like LNG are saying, look, we need to make a play.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to start this one up. They have decent damage for it, but they're turned from Doinb. Look at Doinb. Doinb still has ultimate. He's the one that's going to turn.
Kanavi over the wall. They know exactly where he is. The vision goes down. Baron down to about 6,000 HP. 369 just kind of bullying himself forward. Lwandy goes in. They're going to see if they can try and catch out someone. They're going to land a charm, but I don't know if it's going to be good or not. These are low health bars. And look at the damage. They're taking them all out. The resets are coming in. The Baron has been secured. LNG flip it all on one burger, and the burger gave them food poisoning.
I don't understand it at all. LNG just needed to turn. Doinb has the claw to get out of the pit. You turn that, you shut down Kanavi, you get the damage coming through from Light, and you win the 4 versus 5. Instead, they all just group in the pit. Yagao is turning a whole heap of damage. Kanavi's having a great time in the spot that he's in. And JDG just completely take over the game with that play.
LNG, they felt like they were desperate to go for it. You were saying, look at Doinb, look at him trying to go, but then they just coerced themselves into the pit. Now, not only do you get the Baron, but the waves are in such a fantastic position for JDG. Top lane, mid lane, bot lane, all being pushed in, pushing you further and further back. But let's have a look at the replay, because honestly, just look at the damage that goes out. Look at the charm that comes out from Yagao right onto Light as well.
But this is the thing. Why is Doinb's in the back of the pit, not actually turning? 369 is crawling everyone. You're taking Baron damage. Yagao is getting to poke. All you had to do was turn instantly, pick one member with either Hope or Kanavi, with how close they were, and everyone dive bombs onto them. But that isn't the case. I don't understand why you end up as LNG just sitting in the back of the pit, kind of lost.
And this is LNG kind of showing us why we had so many question marks coming in. Great game one, for sure. No one's denying that, but it's these decisions that come in, and now they're in a little bit of a caught out. That's a 3-man ultimate coming out from the Sion. It's a good keeper's verdict, but Iwanti's already dead. Ala trying to run away. That's another great charm onto Light as he goes down, and now you're trying to get this one working for Doinb. He's going to try and get himself out of this, but the CC is there, and now JDG, they're just picking them off. LNG are just in desperation mode.
And now you can turn back over towards this Baron if you'd like. You've got push for 369 in mid. The tower is nearly gone in top for JDG as well. Looks like they're just happy to crack open the turret immediately. Sorry, they've already have the Baron, but crack open the turret, take the top side. Like, this is so well played by JDG.
369's not taking damage. He's been tanking the turret for about 10 shots, and he's still going forward. He's still keeping himself alive. That is ridiculous. The ultimate super tank in the Sion, and with the Baron, with the Void Remora coming out from Kanavi as well, they're going to be able to crack open at least one inhibitor, maybe even 2 inhibitor turrets.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be completely done for. The tankiness from 369 is already there because he got that earlier shutdown on Doinb. He's now got the Randuin's Omen and Frozen Heart. Can't get through that as Light at the moment. Is only now starting to go towards something like the Mortal Reminder, our Lord Dominic's Regard. Just the decision making from this on LNG side has been so questioned. Also, just on a side note, 369 engages have been absolutely spectacular on this Sion. But again, it's like LNG not grouped up together, Light being focused down in the back line. You have to kind of be in a position to fight forward here as LNG. And usually you'd be able to do it with this mid-game composition, but because of the mistakes that they've made, JDG have control and they're not letting them.
It's just been a tank diff right now. I feel like the Sejuani's a little bit of a bait for both these teams. The Sion's done exceptionally well into it. The Ornn did it very well in game one. The Sejuani not really doing what people needed to do. It feels like this is just not quite either working out in execution, or it's very much just too much of a question mark about doing it. Look at this. Look at this Sion. He doesn't care. That is absurd the way he can just sit there and take that damage, and now he's going to be even tankier.
I don't know. Doesn't really feel like there's much here for left for LNG. Like, there is so much damage that's coming out. The tankiness that's there, the great engages, the setup, and the ability now for Missing to just throw a depth charge onto Light every situation he can. Yagao look for follow-up in the back line, cleanses across the board, being picked up for the 2 carries on JDG. I don't know how you try and come back from this now.
I mean, LNG don't even have a tank killer right now. The Lord Dominic's Regard isn't even being finished up by Light. It's actually an Infinity Edge, so there's no one. I don't believe there's anyone on the side of LNG who can kill 369. Even if you get a perfect engage, you can see Kanavi and Tarzan having a little bit of a 1v1. They do clear the wave, though, and Tarzan just taking so much damage. 369 goes in between them there as Tarzan has to use the heroic charge to try and keep himself alive. They do catch out the Aphelios, though, and all of a sudden, 369's left on his lonesome. He's going to have to flash over the wall. The concussive blows are good, though. They're going to be able to continue the CC. It's going to take so long to take him down. He's still going strong, but he eventually falls down. JDG just got a little bit too sure of themselves and give LNG a lifeline.
And that means that they can maybe try and push out, but unfortunately, like, the Baron in a minute's time, you will have 369 back up. He should be able to TP in towards that. The Mountain Dragon, as you can see, doing a ton of work for JDG in that scenario as well. I just don't know if it's enough for LNG. Overextension certainly by JDG, but you need far more before LNG are in a position where they can fight.
Oh, Doinb. Oh, Doinb. My boy. My boy. You'll go into Zanya's, but you will die. That is inevitability in this world, and yeah, just needs to be a bit more careful with that. Kanavi recognizing he's 100% in a position to be able to 1v1 him. Nearly going to have that death stance. Let's look at the replay here, because Hope just gets caught out.
Yeah, I mean, the engage onto Tarzan is a little bit suspect here regardless, but great play from Doinb. Sidesteps the engage from 369 and instantly goes in just as the depth charge is about to hit. Ala immediately follows up. And again, just LNG then in a great spot with no consistent damage coming through from Hope. Kanavi being knocked out of the fight by Tarzan, so they can just slowly but surely whittle down this Scion. And now, again, Light has the Infinity Edge completed. Will, I hope, start the Lord Dominic's Regard now. So Light getting to a point where if this game continues, he can be okay. But it's just going to be so hard with JDG having this much control.
Look at this flank from Kanavi, though. He's going to find Doinb, and Doinb's in a lot of trouble. He's been isolated away. Is Kanavi trying to make this one work? It's a fight on 2 fronts. It's a 4v4 and a 1v1, as we're going to see now. Velvet being turned around on top of this one. Tarzan's already dead. Kanavi is 1v4ing right now, and he does not care. 2 kills for the Velvet, maybe even a 3rd. Triple kill coming in for Kanavi, and that's going to be a huge win for JDG.
JDG able to take the fight easily as you like. Kanavi hiding out in the wings to make sure that he's able to get the engage. And now with Super Minion streaming in, JDG will take us to game 3.
7-1-6. This Velvet has proven absolutely monstrous right up to her name as the absolute monster of the void. And that is going to be JDG 1-1 in the scoreline, keeping themselves alive in this series.
I mean, JDG bringing it back. It looked confident from LNG with some early plays, but not being able to get those kills onto Light, not being able to snowball this Jinx, meant that the more consistent damage, the ability to try and play for some of these early dragons from JDG came back to bite them.
It really, really did. And honestly, the early Mountain Soul, just, again, good moves from LNG in the start. They made a very conscious decision, like you mentioned, to say, look, we're not going to try and contest the dragons. We're going to try and snowball the lanes, keep going off of these sides. One bad fight, though, and all of a sudden, it just falls apart. You can't let that happen in these kind of situations, especially when you're just letting the other team kind of, again, scale into oblivion.
Yeah, and that's the thing, is that when Belvet's able to get the ball rolling, she's getting towards the later portion of the game. The attack speed's getting absolutely absurd. Works so well with the Blade of the Rune King. It's why we see it as a standard across basically all of our different builds that we see. You've got Aphelios who's getting into a great spot. Decent engages coming through. And honestly, 369's engages in this game were absolutely incredible. We got the great TP flank of that first dragon that set them up. He then gets a follow-up engage to get the shutdown Doinb, which makes him absolutely killable because he's just stacking armor, knowing Light's the really only threat. And eventually, when we get towards the jungle corridors, even drifting Scion apparently is just what 369 does, consistently getting these engages, regardless of the difficult terrain ahead of him.
Yeah, it really, really does. And honestly, I think that LNG kind of showcased a little bit of the inconsistencies, or a lot of the inconsistencies we saw. Again, little things like not crossing your T's, dotting your I's, checking for vision. Doinb gets caught out by the red buff despite a really good play that kind of throws the momentum back towards JDG, despite LNG getting, handed a lifeline. And it's those little moments that the better teams, the JDGs, the V5s, the RNGs of this entire league will just completely punish you for. And honestly, Kanavi, exceptional on this Bel'Veth, really showcasing the power of it, and the kind of the damage and the tankiness with the Sunfire Blade the Ruin King combination. It just made it impossible to deal with. Doinb couldn't keep himself safe unless he knew exactly where the Bel'Veth was.
It wasn't even Doinb, it was Light as well. Light just getting decimated every time he tried to step up. I mean, great positioning on Kanavi, as he said, but threats coming through from Missy, being able to go through. We clearly don't have Bel'Veth programmed in, apparently. But, I mean, just across the board, fantastic stuff. And it's so hard now to kind of look at LNG and go, yeah, well, this was a performance that you can look at and go, well, this was a mistake, that was a mistake. Because I think the only problem that you really had from LNG side was not enough damage and no way for Light to really be thrust into the limelight here. You can even see with the damage there, less than 10k damage on the person that's supposed to be your consistent damage on this squad.
Yeah, and again, look at the damage. Honestly, I want to say look at the damage given by 369 right there. Nearly getting the most damage in the game. And honestly, again, like you mentioned, this Scion just became a monster. This Scion became so uncontainable in those sidelines and even just in the engages that LNG felt a little bit desperate. They felt a little bit like they weren't able to get themselves, properly planted into a team fight, which meant that 369 just had the run of it. And you can see, even if no one got hit by the unstoppable onslaught, they were separated by it. And that's just not how you want to play that team fight as the LNG composition.
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is why JDG showing again that they have great team fighting when they're allowed to look for these fights. Even coming in from slightly behind, they got some really good engages. And I think 369 has really kind of found himself into a great spot on this roster. Like a lot of people, when we saw Zoom and 369 being traded between JDG and Top Esports, were like, well, Top Esports won the trade. 369 has really been struggling, but honestly, 369 coming out as one of the best top players we have at the moment. His Gangplank's insane, his carries are insane, his Scion is nuts. I mean, it's 9s across the board.
He is 9s across the board, but we are going to a game 3 in this particular series. We're going to send it to a quick